I was going to start with the starting quarterback, with the guy that we expected to be the starting quarterback, and the battle potentially that could be going on there. But my first question about this room is really simple, because I have a very simple answer to this. But, you look at where Carolina is at. This is the second straight year that you are having a quarterback battle. And last year we were in, I feel like, a much different spot. I don't know if you feel like that, but ultimately, I feel better about where Carolina is at this offseason than where they were last offseason around this time. You go back to last offseason, Connor Harrell, we saw one game of him. We thought, okay, there was some potential there. There was some upside there. He got banged up in the bowl game, and that's part of the reason that he struggled down the stretch of that game. Maybe there is actually a chance that he could be Carolina's future quarterback. Or you had Max Johnson. Max Johnson's a veteran, albeit probably a less than inspiring veteran based off of what he had done previously in his career, but still a guy that played at two SEC schools, put together a winning record at those two SEC schools, and found himself in the portal and was immediately snatched up by Carolina. And then there was Jacoby Criswell, who transferred back in. They said, hey, he needs time. He needs to learn this new playbook. He's not immediately going to be out there. Now you look at this year's group. Max Johnson is back. He's back, we imagine fully healthy based off of some of the things that we've been seeing, or as close to fully healthy as he's going to be. You've got Gio Lopez, who transfers in the spring window. That's going to have to come in, learn the offense, but we're not being told the same things that we were being told with Jacoby Criswell. And then you have true freshman Bryce Baker. So to me, I feel better about where the room is, because I think with Lopez's experience, what Max Johnson has experience-wise, and it feels like if you were to need him, then he's capable of being there. And I do think that Bryce Baker, if you put him in the quarterback room last year, I think he probably is the best player in that quarterback room in terms of pure talent. I feel like going in, you should feel much, much better about where this quarterback room is this year than you felt about it going into last year.
Yeah, well, it really sucks you got to go first with this, because I was hoping to deliver the same opinion, and maybe not that I was seeking to be a hot take artist, but I thought maybe that would raise an eyebrow or two. I think Carolina's quarterback room, I'm not going to say it's night and day better than it was a year ago. It's improved. You look at Gio Lopez, and I think the more that I've had a chance to maybe watch some highlights, see some film, and then have a chance to talk to or hear football people talk about Gio Lopez, the more of a believer I've become in him. He was at the Manning Passing Academy. He had some quality perspective on what it's been like being coached by Bill Belichick and this offensive staff. We presume him to be the starter, and I think he's going to be primed to be a productive quarterback for Carolina for the duration of the season. But if for whatever reason he were to get injured, if he were to struggle, you've got an experienced guy like Max Johnson, who, yes, is coming back from a gruesome injury, but was an accomplished quarterback in the SEC before transferring to Carolina. Did you see that in his half of a game against Minnesota? Frankly, you did not, but I wonder how much of that was game plan and some kind of outside circumstances that was going into kind of how ineffective he looked at times. That kid can play. And so if he had to get put in the fire, assuming he's healthy, I think he could still put up quality numbers. And you got a guy like Bryce Baker, a guy that, from the time he committed, I was of the mindset that he was going to be Carolina's quarterback entering the year, and that this was going to be a building up process for 2026 where Belichick, Baker would get their feet wet, they'd get established, and then you really use next year to be the launching off point for the program with Belichick as the head coach and Baker as the quarterback. So I do think that you look at the room now, and you've got three quality options. Three guys that I think with Carolina's schedule, they could play any or all three of them and make a bowl game. And the reality is that's not the case a year ago. I don't think Connor Harrell would have gotten Carolina to a bowl game. I know that we were guys that were maybe more optimistic about his potential. You saw some flashes in what he did in the bowl game, and thought that he could be a guy that could be a good quality quarterback for Carolina. There's a reason why he's going to be playing at the Group of 5 level this year. And so I do look at this room, and we got to see what this offense looks like, what the identity is going to end up being. But I do think it's fair to say that it's as deep as it's been in a few years, and they've got 3 legitimate options that I think could help Carolina play winning football. And that just wasn't the case last year or probably 2 years ago.